The night my 4 sisters came back from the dead, they stood around my bed and begged me to open my eyes. I didn't. That's probably why I'm still alive. At least, that's what I believed for a long time. I know better now. My sisters weren't the reason I needed to keep my eyes closed. They were the ones trying to protect me from what was standing behind them. But to explain that, I have to tell you about the summer my mother bought for white dresses, and why there wasn't one for me. I grew up in a part of West Virginia where roads seemed to disappear into the mountains. Our house stood at the end of Holloway Ridge Road, though calling it a road was generous. It was mostly gravel, mud, and weeds cutting through miles of forest. The nearest grocery store was 30 minutes away. The nearest hospital was almost an hour. Cell service disappeared halfway up the ridge. Our farmhouse had belonged to Holloways for longer than anyone seemed able to remember. My father said his grandfather had rebuilt it after a fire. My mother said that was wrong. According to her, the house had never burned. That was the first thing I learned about my family. Ask the Holloways the same question and you'd get 3 different answers. My name is Sadie Holloway. I was 15 that summer. Everyone called me Slow Sadie. I hated the name. My mother started it. When I was little, she'd say I took too long to understand instructions. Later, she said I wasn't bright enough for school. By 14, I was attending classes maybe 3 days a week because someone had to stay home with my younger sisters. Eventually, teachers stopped asking questions. People around Holloway Ridge had their own explanations. Poor Sadie. Simple girl. Sweet. But not much going on upstairs. I learned something useful from that. People talk freely around someone they think is stupid. So I stopped correcting them. I lowered my eyes. Answered slowly. Pretended not to understand things I understood perfectly well. It made life easier, and eventually, it saved it. There were 5 Holloway girls. Me, then Ruby, June, Maisie, and Lily. Ruby was 12 and smarter than everyone in our family, including the adults. She read anything she could find. Old newspapers, instruction manuals, my father's hunting magazines. Once I caught her reading the warning label on a bottle of bleach because she'd run out of books. She wanted to become a veterinarian. Our mother laughed when Ruby told her. "Who's going to pay for that?" Ruby answered. "I will." Mother didn't like that. June was 9. June was beautiful in the way adults always felt compelled to mention. She had pale gray eyes and dark hair that almost looked blue under sunlight. Mother called them Holloway eyes. Sometimes she'd hold June's chin and turn her face toward the window. Those eyes came from my grandmother. She'd say June hated it. After Mother left, she'd rub her face like she was trying to wipe the compliment away. Maisie was 6 and practically indestructible. She climbed trees, jumped from the barn roof, ran barefoot over gravel. Once she fell into the creek in January and came home soaked to the waist. Mother screamed at her. Maisie sneezed once and asked what was for dinner. Lily was 3. Lily followed me everywhere. If I went to the kitchen, she went to the kitchen. If I hung laundry, she'd sit under the clothesline. If I went to the bathroom, little fingers appeared beneath the door. Sadie, I'm still here. Okay. 5 seconds later. Sadie, what? Nothing. She was terrified of thunderstorms. Whenever one rolled across the ridge, Lily crawled into my bed and pressed her face against my back. I complained about it constantly. That's important. Because people like to make dead children perfect. They weren't. Ruby stole my things. June could sulk for hours. Maisie lied about everything. Lily once poured an entire bottle of syrup into my shoes because I wouldn't let her play outside. And I wasn't a perfect sister either. Sometimes I wished they'd leave me alone. Sometimes I resented them. Sometimes I'd watch girls my age driving into town with their friends while I carried Lily on one hip and dragged Maisie away from something dangerous with my other hand. I used to imagine leaving Holloway Ridge and never coming back, alone. No sisters. No parents. Nobody needing anything from me. For years after they died, I hated myself for having imagined that. My father, Wade Holloway, wasn't cruel in the same way my mother was. That probably made him worse. Cruelty you can recognize. Cowardice looks like kindness until you need it. Dad would slip me an extra piece of chicken after Mother said I'd eaten enough. He'd drive me to school if Mother allowed it. Sometimes he'd say, "Your mom's under a lot of pressure," as if pressure explained everything. He worked wherever he could, logging, roofing, construction. By that summer, he was repairing heavy equipment at a quarry 3 towns over. He drank every evening, not enough to fall down, enough to stop noticing things. My mother, Lenora, noticed everything, especially her daughters. She studied us. That's the only word that fits. When Ruby solved something quickly, Mother watched. When June smiled, Mother watched. When Maisie recovered from another injury without crying, Mother watched. When Lily sang to herself, Mother watched. At the time, I thought she was proud. She rarely praised them normally. Instead, she'd say strange things. Ruby got the good mind, or June got the Holloway eyes, or nothing sticks to Maisie, strong as an ox. With Lily, listen to that voice. That's my mother's voice. Then she'd look at me. Usually she said nothing. One afternoon I finally asked, "What did I get?" Mother looked me over, head to toe. "You," she laughed. "You're useful." Ruby heard her. That night she crawled into my bed. "I think you're pretty. Go away. I'm serious. You're 12. Your opinion doesn't count." Ruby thought about that. "You're smarter than Mom, too." I covered her face with my pillow. She bit me through it. We almost knocked the lamp over fighting. Mother came upstairs and screamed at us. That was Ruby. She couldn't fix anything, but she always tried. Aunt Agnes arrived in early June. She wasn't technically my aunt. She was my mother's great-aunt, which made her ancient as far as we were concerned. Agnes Voss lived farther into the mountains than we did. She had no phone, no television, no mailbox. People visited her when they had problems they didn't want doctors or preachers knowing about. Mother called her a healer. Dad called her an old witch when Mother wasn't listening. Agnes had long white hair, nicotine yellow fingers, and eyes so pale I could never tell exactly where she was looking. The first thing she did when she entered our house was ignore me. She went to Ruby. "Open your mouth." Ruby frowned. "Why?" Mother snapped. "Do what she says." Agnes checked Ruby's teeth, then her eyes, then pressed her fingers against her throat. She did the same to June, Maisie, Lily. She measured their heads with a cloth tape, cut a small piece of hair from each, had them walk across the kitchen, made Ruby read something, asked June to identify colors, made Maisie squeeze her fingers, asked Lily to sing. It was bizarre. I stood beside the sink watching. Finally Agnes looked at me. For a moment, I thought it was my turn. Instead she asked, "How old?" 15. Mother answered for me. "Don't bother with her." Agnes studied my face. "Why not?" Mother lowered her voice. "She's slow." Agnes kept looking at me. I remembered to let my mouth hang slightly open. "Is that right?" she asked. I nodded. Slowly, Agnes smiled, not kindly. "Then maybe slow is useful." That night I woke needing water. Voices came from the kitchen. Mother and Agnes. I stopped halfway down the stairs. Agnes said, "For should be enough." Mother whispered something I couldn't hear. Then, the youngest is barely 3. Young is better. What about Sadie? A pause. Not the oldest one. I leaned closer. A floorboard creaked. Their conversation stopped. "Who's there?" Mother called. I walked downstairs, rubbing my eyes. "Water." Agnes watched me. Mother pointed at the sink. "Get it and go back to bed." I filled a glass. As I turned, Agnes said, "Sadie." I looked at her. She smiled. "Sleep while you can." 2 weeks later, Mother came home with 4 dresses. White cotton, short sleeves, tiny yellow flowers stitched along the hems. The girls went wild. We didn't get new clothes often. Ruby held hers against herself. June immediately spun around in front of the mirror. Maisie asked whether she could climb trees in it. Mother said absolutely not. Lily danced until she fell over. I stood at the kitchen counter peeling potatoes. They were for dresses. 5 daughters. I told myself I didn't care. I was 15. They looked childish anyway. Then Ruby noticed. "Where's Sadie's?" Mother didn't look at me. "Sadie doesn't need one." "Why?" "Because I bought 4. Ruby frowned. "That's not a reason." Mother turned. "Do you want me to take yours back?" Ruby went quiet. I kept peeling. Later she found me hanging laundry. She was carrying the dress. "You can have mine. It won't fit. When I grow out of it. You'll destroy it before then." "I won't. You climbed through barbed wire yesterday. That was different." I laughed. Ruby smiled. Then she became serious. "When I'm too big for it, it's yours." "Fine. Promise you'll wear it." "Sure." She held out her pinky. I hooked mine around it. "Promise." That stupid promise followed me for years. The night of the fire was hot, too hot for blankets. A storm had been threatening all afternoon, but it never arrived. The air felt heavy. The girls wore their new dresses after dinner because Mother insisted. That was strange. They weren't going anywhere. Dad was drinking beer on the porch. Mother brushed June's hair. Then Ruby's, then Maisie's, then Lily's. She made them stand together near the stairs. I remember thinking they looked like they were posing for a photograph, but Mother didn't have a camera. She just stared. June shifted. "Can we change now?" "No. The dress is itchy. Leave it on." Ruby looked at me. Something in her expression bothered me. I should have asked why. I didn't. At bedtime, Mother put all 4 girls in the same room. Usually Ruby and June shared one room while Maisie and Lily shared another. "Why?" Ruby asked. "Because I said so." Around 11, Lily appeared in my doorway. Her white dress glowed faintly in the moonlight. She was crying. "Sadie." "What?" "I don't want to sleep there." I rolled over. "Why?" "Ruby says there's something under the floor." I groaned. "Ruby is messing with you." "She isn't." "Lily, go back." She climbed onto my bed. "Please." Then Mother appeared behind her. "Get back in your room." Lily grabbed my blanket. Mother pulled her away. Lily cried harder. "Sadie." I was tired. I'd spent all day cleaning. Maisie had broken a jar in the pantry. Dad had yelled because dinner was late. I just wanted everyone to leave me alone. "Go back to bed?" "Lily." She stopped fighting. Mother carried her away. The last thing Lily did was look over Mother's shoulder at me. I rolled over. 3 hours later, I woke smelling smoke. I sat up. Orange light flashed beneath my door. Someone screamed. I ran into the hallway. The girls' room was burning. Not smoking. Burning. Flames rolled from the doorway. I heard screaming inside. I ran toward it. Dad caught me around the waist. "No, Lily." He dragged me backward. Let me go. The ceiling above the room cracked. Ruby screamed my name. I kicked Dad, bit his arm. Anything to get loose. Then I saw my mother. She stood at the end of the hallway, watching, not screaming, not trying to reach them, just watching. Mom. She looked at me. Do something. Her face was wet. For years I told myself those were tears. I'm not sure anymore. The roof over the girls' room collapsed. After that, there was no more screaming. The official explanation was the electrical wiring, old house, old fuse box, bad luck. The sheriff came. The fire department came. People from town brought food. Everybody told me how sorry they were. Nobody let me see the bodies. Mother said there wasn't much left. There was supposed to be a funeral. There wasn't. Agnes arrived the day after the fire. By evening, she and Mother had convinced everyone the remains would be handled privately because of family tradition. I didn't know what that meant. That night, I found out. I woke to the sound of something heavy being dragged downstairs. I opened my door. Dad was carrying a wooden box toward the basement. Dark liquid dripped from one corner. I followed, barefoot, quiet. The basement door was open. I stopped above the last few steps. 4 clay pots stood on a table. Beside them were 4 bundles. I recognized the fabric, white, yellow flowers. Burned black at the edges. I put my hand over my mouth. Agnes stood over the pots. She held 4 black seeds in her palm. They were larger than any seeds I'd ever seen. Almost like stones. Mother stood beside her. How long? Agnes placed the first seed into a pot. When the roots take. How long? You waited this many years. You can wait a few more months. Mother touched her stomach. What if it doesn't work? Agnes looked at the 4 burned bundles. It will, Mother whispered. And the heir, Agnes smiled. The Holloway line will have what it was promised. I shifted my weight. A stair creaked. Agnes looked directly toward me. I ran. Nobody followed. The next morning, Mother asked whether I'd slept well. I said yes. Agnes sat at the table drinking coffee. She watched me eat. Then she said, "Good girl." That was when I understood something. She knew I'd been there, and for whatever reason, she wasn't telling Mother. 3 weeks later, my mother was pregnant. Dad acted shocked. Mother didn't. She stood in the kitchen with both hands on her stomach and smiled. It was the happiest I'd ever seen her. By August, she looked 6 months pregnant. By September, she looked ready to give birth. Doctors weren't involved. Agnes handled everything. And in the basement, for plants grew, I checked them whenever Mother left. I'd never seen anything like them. Pale stems, dark leaves, no flowers. They grew impossibly fast. Their roots filled the clay pots. One afternoon I lifted a pot. Something pale showed through the soil. I scraped dirt away. Bone, small, thin. I dropped the pot. It cracked. A root moved. Not from the impact. It curled around the exposed bone, slowly, like a finger. I ran upstairs and vomited. Mother found me. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing." She grabbed my chin. "You're pale. Stomach." She released me. "Don't get sick near me." I nodded. Slow Sadie. Useful Sadie. Stupid Sadie. That night I started pretending harder. Elias Holloway was born in October. I heard Mother screaming for 6 hours. Then a baby cried. Agnes opened the bedroom door. "Come." I didn't want to. Mother lay against the pillows, drenched in sweat. Dad stood beside her. He was crying. In Mother's arms was the largest newborn I'd ever seen. Dark hair, perfect skin, wide gray eyes. Mother smiled at me. "Meet your brother." "Brother?" We'd never discussed the baby's sex, but somehow she'd known. Elias, she said. Dad touched the baby's cheek. Our boy. Mother looked almost holy. For a while, even I forgot what I'd seen in the basement. Then Elias opened his eyes. Gray. Pale gray. June's eyes. I told myself many people had gray eyes. Then I saw his nose. Ruby had broken hers falling from a tree when she was 8. It healed with the slightest curve to the left. Elias had the same curve, a newborn, the same nose. A few weeks later, he smiled. Maisie had a crooked smile. One side always rose higher. So did Elias's. Then one night I heard him crying. 3 short cries. Pause. 3 more. Exactly the sound Lily used to make when she woke from a nightmare. I walked to his crib. He stopped. His eyes followed me. June's eyes. Ruby's nose. Maisie's mouth. Lily's voice. I stumbled backward. Mother entered. What are you doing? I looked at her, then at Elias. She knew. I could see it. She knew exactly what I had realized. I threw up beside the crib. I went to Evelyn Pike the next morning. Everyone called her Crazy Evelyn. She lived about a mile down the ridge in a house surrounded by rusted wine chimes. Mother hated her. That was enough reason for me to trust her. Evelyn opened the door before I knocked. You finally figured it out. I froze. Figured what out? Don't do that with me. She stepped aside. I know you're not stupid. I entered. Her house smelled like coffee and wood smoke. She poured me a cup. I didn't touch it. My sisters. I know. My mother did something. I know. Then tell me. Evelyn sat across from me. The Holloways have been trying to create heirs for longer than your mother understands. An heir to what? Nothing worth inheriting. What did she do? Evelyn stared into her coffee. Your mother believes blood remembers. What does that mean? She believes talent lives in blood. Beauty lives in blood. Strength. Intelligence. That if you know how to separate those things, you can put them somewhere else. Elias. Yes. My stomach turned. She killed them. Evelyn didn't answer. Did my mother kill my sisters? I wasn't there. That's not what I asked. I don't know. I started crying. I hated myself for it. I told Lily to go back. Evelyn looked at me. What? The night of the fire, she wanted to sleep with me. I told her to go back. Sadie, if I'd let her stay ... Stop. She'd be alive. You don't know that. I sent her back. You were 15. I sent her back. Evelyn reached across the table. I pulled away. After a while she said, Listen carefully. I wiped my face. Your sisters aren't resting. I looked up. How do you know? Because things taken wrongly don't stay quiet. I remembered Elias. What do I do? Tonight. Lock your bedroom door. Why? If you hear them, don't answer. My skin prickled. And Sadie. What? No matter what they say. No matter whose voice you hear ... Double quotes. She leaned closer. Don't open your eyes. At 3:13 that morning, Ruby called my name. Sadie. My eyes opened automatically. Then I remembered Evelyn. I squeezed them shut. Footsteps moved down the hallway. Small bare feet. For different rhythms. Tap, tap, drag, tap. My door was locked. The handle turned. Once, twice. Sadie. June. I covered my mouth. Why won't you look at us? The door creaked. I knew I'd locked it. The footsteps entered. My mattress dipped near my feet. Then on the other side. Then beside my head. A smell filled the room. Smoke, burned hair. Burned cloth. I started crying. Maisie giggled. She's scared. Ruby whispered. Don't be scared. Something cold touched my ankle. I almost screamed. Another hand touched my arm, then my cheek. Tiny fingers. Lily? Sadie. I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. Open your eyes. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. I wanted to see Lily. I wanted to tell her I was sorry. I wanted to see all of them, please. Lily whispered. The mattress sank beside me. Something leaned close. Cold breath touched my ear. Then Ruby whispered, Don't. I stopped breathing. Another sound came from the hallway, heavy, slow. Not a child's footsteps. Something dragged itself past my room. The girls went silent. Whatever was outside stopped. Right beyond the doorway, scratch, scratch, scratch. Then Lily whispered, Don't look. The scratching continued for almost an hour. I kept my eyes closed until sunlight warmed my face. When I finally looked, I was alone. My bedroom door stood open. For black handprints marked the foot of my bed, and on the floor outside something had scratched 8 long grooves into the wood. Dad was dead downstairs. He sat beside the wood stove. At first I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then I saw his eyes, open, his hands were burned. So were his feet. There were strange injuries across his arms, but what I remember most was his mouth. Black roots protruded between his lips. Mother screamed once, then ran upstairs, not to call anyone, not to cover Dad, to check Elias. That told me everything. Dad was dead, and all my mother cared about was whether her son was safe. Elias wasn't. A red sore had appeared beside his left eye. By evening, the skin around it turned gray. Mother called Agnes. Agnes examined him. Her face tightened. They're taking it back. Mother went pale. What? What belongs to them? Over the next week, Elias got worse. First his eyes, then the skin around his nose, then his mouth. Every feature I'd recognized from my sisters began to deteriorate. Mother stopped sleeping. She carried Elias everywhere. She prayed. She screamed. She begged Agnes, What do they want? Agnes looked at me. I saw the answer before she spoke. They want a sister. The next morning, Mother came into my room carrying a hairbrush. She hadn't brushed my hair since I was 6. Sit. I obeyed. She worked through the knots gently. You have beautiful hair. I almost laughed. My entire life she'd called it dull. Thank you. You're becoming a pretty girl. I looked at her reflection in the mirror. She was smiling. I smiled back, slowly, like I didn't understand. Am I? You are. Then she brought out the dress. White, yellow flowers. The 5th dress. My throat closed. Ruby promised me hers. Mother's smile vanished for half a second. What? Nothing. She helped me put it on. It fit perfectly. That was the worst part. She'd had it made before the fire. Maybe before the other 4. That night she sent me into my sister's old room. The walls were still stained from smoke. The floor had been repaired. A single bed stood in the center. Sleep. Mother closed the door. I heard the lock turn from outside. I lay down, closed my eyes, and waited. At 3:13, the room became cold. Ruby whispered, Sadie. I'm sorry, I said. I'd forgotten Evelyn's rule. Silence. Then June said. She answered. Maisie giggled. Lily climbed onto the bed. I knew it was Lily because of the way she crawled. Exactly like before, her hand touched my face. Cold. I cried. I'm sorry? Lily. She touched my lips. Hands grabbed my dress. I panicked. Fabric tightened around my throat. Then, rip. The dress tore. Again. Rip. Again. I felt pieces being pulled away. I curled into myself. Please. Another violent tear. Then nothing. I waited. Lily's hand touched mine. Not you. I opened my eyes. For 1 second, I saw them, 4 girls standing beside the bed. Their white dresses were burned, their skin was dark with soot. But I knew their faces. Ruby, June, Maisie, Lily. They weren't looking at me. They were looking behind me, at the doorway. Mother stood there. Her face had gone white. The girls disappeared. Mother stared at the shredded dress, then at me. Agnes appeared behind her. It didn't work, Mother whispered. Agnes shook her head. No. Why? Agnes looked at me. Because they don't hate her. For the first time since the fire, I understood. My sisters hadn't come back for me. They had come back for everyone else. Agnes decided the spirits had to be bound. She called it the binding of 5. Dad would be the anchor. My 4 sisters would be tied to him. Dead to dead. Blood to blood. Once bound, Agnes said, they would never cross back. Mother asked what she needed. Agnes answered, a living witness. Both of them looked at me. I ran to Evelyn. This time she wasn't surprised. They're going to use Dad. I know they're right. Can you stop it? No. Then help me leave. If you run now, they'll find you before dark. What am I supposed to do? Evelyn reached into a drawer and handed me a small iron nail. Old, black. Keep this. What does it do? Maybe nothing. That's reassuring. She almost smiled. Then she took my hand. Your sisters know more than Agnes thinks they know. How? They've been where Agnes is trying to send them. I swallowed. What do I do? Listen to them. That's it. When Ruby tells you to close your eyes, close them. What if she tells me to run? Run. What if she tells me to open them? Evelyn's expression changed. She won't. The ritual began after midnight in our barn. Dad's body lay in the center of a circle. Nobody had buried him. Agnes had convinced the authorities his remains needed to be held for some family arrangement. I still don't know how she managed it. 4 clay pots surrounded him. The plants were dead now. Their black roots stretched across the floor. Mother sat outside the circle holding Elias. He barely looked alive. I stood beside Agnes. Put your hand here. She pointed to the floor. I saw a symbol carved into the wood. 5 branches. 1 center. I put my palm down. The iron nail Evelyn gave me was hidden in my sleeve. Agnes began speaking. Not Latin. Not anything dramatic. Names. She recited Holloway names. Generations of them. People I'd never heard of. Then my sisters. Ruby Holloway. The barn shook. June Holloway. A lantern went out. Maisie Holloway. Something scratched the roof. Lily Holloway. Elias screamed. Mother held him tighter. Keep going, she shouted. Agnes raised her voice. Wade Holloway. Receive what belongs to your blood. Dad's dead body moved, only an inch. But it moved. I wanted to run. Then Ruby whispered beside me. Sadie. Agnes didn't react. Only I heard her. Close your eyes. I closed them. Immediately, the barn exploded with sound. Whined, breaking glass. Mother screaming. Agnes shouting words faster. Small feet running circles around us. Then something heavy dropped from the rafters. Boom. Agnes screamed. Keep your eyes open. I didn't. Sadie. Look at me. I kept them shut. That wasn't Ruby. Agnes grabbed my shoulders. Open your eyes. Then Maisie laughed somewhere behind her. Agnes stopped. A child whispered. Found you. Agnes screamed. Something dragged her away from me. I fell. Mother was praying. Elias was shrieking. Then came the scratching. The same sound from outside my bedroom. Scratch, 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 except now it came from above. From every beam in the barn, Agnes shouted. No. I bound you, Ruby answered. No, you didn't. A sound like dozens of ropes snapping filled the barn. Then Dad made a noise. A dead man should never make a noise. Mother screamed his name. Something began chewing. Slow, wet, crunching. I pressed my hands over my ears. Lily was suddenly beside me. I felt her small hand wrap around one finger. It's okay. I cried harder. I'm sorry. For what? I sent you back. She didn't answer. I thought maybe she didn't understand. Then Ruby spoke from my other side. It wasn't your fault. I wanted to open my eyes. I wanted to see them one last time. But Ruby squeezed my shoulder. Not yet. Agnes screamed once more, then stopped. The scratching moved across the ceiling. Toward Mother. No, Mother whispered. Then louder. No, take Sadie. My heart stopped. Take her. She's your sister. For children's voices answered together. So are we. Something crashed. Mother screamed. Elias cried. Then silence. Absolute silence. I stayed on the floor. I shut. I don't know how long. Finally Ruby whispered, You can look now. I opened them. Morning light leaked through gaps in the barn walls. Agnes lay near the door. Dead. I won't describe what had happened to her. Dad's body was gone. The 4 clay pots were empty. Every black root had disappeared. Mother sat against the wall clutching Elias. She was alive. So was he. My sisters were gone. I looked at the roof. 8 deep scratches ran across the central beam. Mother saw me looking, and for the first time in my life, she looked afraid of me. Elias survived 3 more days. Barely. His eyes clouded. His nose darkened. His lips cracked. His tiny body seemed to be collapsing piece by piece. Mother refused to take him to a hospital. She said doctors couldn't fix what was wrong. She was right. But Agnes was dead. Dad was gone. My sisters were gone. Mother had nobody left to ask, except me. On the second night, she came into the kitchen holding Elias. Tell me what they said. I kept washing dishes. Who? Don't play stupid. I turned. That was the first time she'd ever admitted I might be playing. What did your sisters say? Nothing. She slapped me. Hard. I tasted blood. Tell me. Elias whimpered. I looked at him. He wasn't evil. That was something I had to remind myself. He hadn't killed Ruby, or June, or Maisie, or Lily. He was a baby. A terrible thing had been done to make him. But that wasn't his choice. Mother bounced him desperately. Please. I'd never heard my mother say that word to me. Please. Sadie, what do you want? I need to know how to fix him. I looked at her face. Then Elias's. June's eyes were almost gone. Ruby's nose blackened. Maisie's mouth cracked. Everything stolen was being taken back. Then I remembered something Agnes had said months earlier. Blood remembers. Mother followed my eyes. What? You always said I had nothing. She frowned. What are you talking about? Nothing good enough. Sadie ... But you do? I touched my nose. Mother stared. Then my eyes. My mouth. You have Holloway eyes too. She stopped breathing. I continued. He's your son. Her eyes moved toward Elias. He came from you. I watched the thought enter her mind. I wish I could tell you I didn't know what I was doing. I did. I knew exactly what seed I was planting. And I planted it anyway. Mother whispered. Blood remembers. I backed toward the door. That's what Agnes said. Mother looked at her son. I left. I ran to Evelyn's house. This time she didn't send me back. She locked the door. called Sheriff Mercer from her landline, then made me sit in the kitchen. What did you tell your mother? I didn't answer. Evelyn looked at me for a long time. Sadie. I gave her an idea. What idea? I stared at my hands. I think you know. Evelyn closed her eyes. She didn't tell me I'd done the right thing. I'm grateful for that, because I don't know if I did. The sheriff arrived the next morning. By noon, deputies were at the farmhouse. They wouldn't let me inside. I never saw my mother again. I only know what the sheriff told Evelyn. Lenora Holloway was dead. So was Elias. What happened inside that bedroom was described to me only once. Once was enough. My mother had tried to give her perfect son everything she had left. Her eyes, her face, her blood, even the parts she believed carried thought and memory. Blood remembers. Maybe she believed it until the end. The official report said psychotic break. Trauma following the deaths of multiple family members. Nobody mentioned Inez's ritual. Nobody mentioned the clay pots. Nobody mentioned the black roots. Nobody mentioned for dead girls walking through our house at night. Holloway Ridge was good at keeping secrets. It had practiced for generations. I went to live with Evelyn. At first, I thought it would be temporary. It wasn't. She enrolled me in school full-time. I was behind. Not because I was stupid, because I'd missed years of classes. The first time a teacher told me I was good at writing, I thought she was making fun of me. The first time I got an A, I hid the paper. Evelyn found it. She stuck it on the refrigerator. I stared at it for a long time. Nobody had ever put something I'd done on a refrigerator before. Eventually I stopped answering to Slow Sadie. Eventually other people stopped calling me that. It took longer for the voice in my head to stop. The house on Holloway Ridge was condemned. Then abandoned. Nobody wanted it. Good. I didn't either. Months later, Evelyn drove me back, not to the house, to a patch of earth behind the barn. I'd buried something there before Elias was born. After finding the bones in the clay pots, I'd stolen a handful of dirt from each one. I didn't know why. Maybe I thought I could save some piece of my sister's. Maybe I was just scared. I mixed the dirt together and buried it beneath an old oak. Now flowers grew there. 4 of them, small white flowers. Each had 4 broad petals. I'd never seen that kind before. Neither had Evelyn. I knelt, touched one. Can I take it? Evelyn nodded. I dug carefully around the roots. We planted it outside her kitchen window. It bloomed every spring, always 4 flowers, never 3, never 5, 4, Ruby, June, Maisie, Lily. It was almost a year before Evelyn told me the entire truth. We were sitting on her porch during a thunderstorm. I asked her how she had known the binding would fail. She stared into the rain. I didn't. But you knew something? Yes. What? She hesitated, then said, Agnes didn't make a mistake. I waited. I did. What do you mean? The binding required the property to be sealed. I remembered Agnes walking around the farmhouse and barn before the ritual. The symbols. Yes. I don't understand. One of them was broken. How? Evelyn looked at me. I understood. You. She nodded. You broke it. I opened a door, for my sisters, for whatever was trying to get inside. A chill moved through me. Whatever. Evelyn looked toward the forest. Sadie, I knew your sisters were there. But they weren't alone. I remembered the heavy footsteps outside my bedroom. The scratching. 8 grooves in the floor. The thing moving above us during the ritual, what was it? I don't know. You must know something. Agnes believed the Holloway ritual took qualities from the dead and transferred them to the living. Did it? Maybe. Then what was the other thing? Evelyn took a long time to answer. Something that noticed the door was open. Thunder rolled across the ridge. I thought about the night my sisters came back, their voices asking me to look. Then Ruby saying don't, Lily saying don't look. For years I'd thought Evelyn's rule protected me from my sisters. It hadn't. My sisters had been protecting me from something else. Why didn't you tell me? You had enough ghosts. That was the end of the conversation. I thought it was the end of the story. It wasn't. A few months later, Evelyn and I left West Virginia. Not because of ghosts. She said she was tired of winter. I think she was tired of Holloways. We moved to Virginia, outside a small town where nobody knew my family. I started over. I had friends, real friends. I learned to drive. I got a job at a bookstore. I started thinking about college, normal things. For the first time, I could imagine a future that didn't end at the edge of Holloway Ridge. I kept the flower. We dug it up carefully and replanted it outside my new bedroom window. That first spring, for flowers bloomed. I sat beside them for almost an hour. "Hi," I said. I felt stupid. Then I laughed. Ruby would have made fun of me. June would have told her to shut up. Maisie would probably have picked one despite being told not to. Lily would have asked whether flowers slept. I miss them. I still do. Grief doesn't leave. It changes shape. Some days it's enormous. Some days you carry it without noticing. And sometimes it speaks in your little sister's voice during a thunderstorm. The storm came a few weeks after my 17th birthday. I woke sometime after 3. Rain struck the windows. Thunder shook the house. For a moment I didn't know why I was awake. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway. Small, bare feet. 3 steps. Pause. 3 steps. My heart began pounding. The footsteps stopped outside my room. Sadie. Lily. I sat up. The door slowly opened. I couldn't see anyone. Lily? A little giggle. Then, you forgot. Forgot what? Eyes. I understood. I closed them. The mattress dipped. A small cold hand touched mine. I squeezed it. I missed you. Missed you too. I started crying. Are Ruby and the others here? Are you okay? Lily didn't answer. Maybe the question didn't mean anything where she was. After a while she said, "You kept the flower." "Of course. Pretty." "Yeah." Thunder rolled outside. I smiled. "You don't have to be scared of storms anymore." "I'm not." "I know." Her fingers squeezed mine. For one perfect moment, I felt like I was 15 again, before the fire, before Elias, before I understood what my mother had done. Just Sadie and Lily sharing a bed because thunder scared her. Then the mattress dipped on my other side. I stopped smiling. Lily's hand tightened around mine. There was someone else in the room. I could hear breathing. Slow. Wet. Not Ruby. Not June. Not Maisie. To heavy. Scratch. 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 Something dragged across the wall. My blood turned cold. Lily whispered, "Don't look." I squeezed my eyes tighter. The scratching moved upward, across the wall, onto the ceiling. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Then a voice came from the other side of my bed. A child's voice, but not one I recognized. "Sadie." I didn't answer. Lily held my hand. The other child giggled. "Can I have one too?" I stayed silent. "One what?" I finally whispered. Lily dug her cold fingers into my palm. A warning. Too late. The thing above me moved. The ceiling creaked beneath its weight. Then the unfamiliar child whispered, "A flower." I heard something slide down the wall, slowly, The smell came next. Not smoke, wet earth. The smell of the basement, of the clay pots, of black roots wrapped around little bones. I wanted to call Evelyn. I couldn't move. The voice came closer. Your sister's got flowers. Scratch, scratch. So, where's mine? Lily whispered, go away. The other child laughed. Then something touched the underside of my bed. Once, twice, 3 times. The entire mattress lifted half an inch. I nearly opened my eyes. Lily climbed onto my chest. Her small hands covered my face. No, I lay completely still. The room became colder. Another voice joined Lily. Ruby, leave her alone. Then June, she's ours. Maisie, you can't have her. The thing beneath the bed stopped moving. For several seconds there was nothing. Then the unfamiliar voice said, you opened the door. Ruby answered, we didn't. A long pause. No, the child said. She did. I knew immediately who it meant. Evelyn, the broken ward. The binding, the open door. Whatever came through that night had never gone back. The scratching moved away, across the floor, up the wall, onto the ceiling, toward the window, then stopped. The unfamiliar child whispered one last thing. I'll find my own flower. The window rattled. Then everything became still. Lily's hands left my face. I waited. Can I look? Ruby answered, not yet. So I waited. Minutes passed, maybe an hour. Eventually birds began singing outside. Ruby whispered, now. I opened my eyes. I was alone. Sunlight entered through the curtains. My door was closed. Nothing stood on the ceiling. Nothing waited beneath my bed. For a few seconds, I convinced myself it had been a dream. Then I looked at my hand, for tiny black fingerprints marked my palm, and outside the window, the flower I'd brought from Holloway Ridge had changed. They were still for white blossoms, Ruby, June, Maisie, Lily, but beside them, pushing through the soil, was something new, a fifth stem, black, thin, curled like a finger. At the end was a closed flower bud. I stared at it. Then I remembered something Agnes said the first time she came to our house. For should be enough, I had spent years believing she meant my 4 sisters. Maybe she did. Or, B, the Holloways had misunderstood their own ritual from the beginning. Maybe the 4 girls weren't payment. Maybe they were an invitation. And maybe Elias wasn't the thing they had been trying to create. Maybe he was only the door. I went outside. The black bud turned toward me. There was no wind. I stepped closer. It opened, 5 petals. Inside the flower was something pale and wet. For one terrible second, I thought it was an eye. Then it blinked, behind me, from somewhere inside the house, for little girls screamed my name. I ran. I didn't look back. And this time, when my sisters told me to close my eyes, I finally understood why.